and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. My name is Ravi Shankar. I'm the Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at Denodo, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Michael Hernandez. He's the CDO at Texas Mutual. Mike, very nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, Ravi. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Mike, just as an introduction, as we get started, can you give our audience a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so really, I came into the data space through the business side. I know sometimes people come through the technical side. I came through the business side. My background is primarily in the banking industry. I spent over 30 years in the banking industry, working a lot at the intersection between the business and IT, specifically around data. And I learned a lot from that. As a matter of fact, I was running accounting operations at a top 10 US bank when we got a new chief data officer into that bank. And that chief data officer, after meeting with me several times, asked me to be responsible for data strategy at this top 10 bank. That was actually the first real data job that I had. And it was at a very large organization. Now, I've been in chief data officer roles for the last couple of jobs, though, including my stint here at Texas Mutual.
Great, that's great to hear. All right, so coming to Texas Mutual, many of the audience might know, there might be some who do not know about it. So can you give us a little bit introduction about Texas Mutual to our audience?
Sure, be glad to. So Texas Mutual has been around for a bit more than 25 years. We are a monoline workers' comp insurance carrier, primarily for Texas-based employers. We typically are, rank among the highest of just about every peer group and every metric you would find significant. Very well-run, very successful organization, which I've been at for about the last 2.5 years. Very happy to be here.
Okay, that's great. And looks like you have quite a few number of policyholders, about 70,000 policyholders, and about that take care of like 1.5 million workers. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have about we typically do about $1 billion of premium a year, and about 76,000 policyholders.
Okay, awesome. Now coming to your role, so you're the CDO at Texas Mutual. Can you help our audience understand your role and responsibilities as a CDO?
Sure. Really, I am responsible for everything data and analytics related at Texas Mutual. I was the first chief data officer at Texas Mutual, so it really was a green field for me, which is just the kind of opportunity that I like and thrive in because I enjoy building those teams and building a strategy around data. I really built the data strategy at Texas Mutual around three main pillars, and that is the analytics, the data governance side, and then the data platform side. So we've been concurrently working on all three of those things in the last 2.5 years that I've been at Texas Mutual and as I've built out this team.
Okay, that's great. So in terms of the data strategy that you talked about, you gave the three different ones that you're actually doing. How is that kind of, you're driving that within Texas Mutual, and how is that helping the digital transformation, and how has that kind of shifted from the past to where it is right now?
Well, they didn't really have a clear data strategy in the past at Texas Mutual, which is the reason why they created the CDO position, was to create that data strategy. Now, because Texas Mutual is a monoline carrier, not looking to get into other lines of insurance, and not even looking to expand geographically for a number of different reasons, really the only way for Texas Mutual to continue to be dominant in this niche that they serve is to continue offering better service and get better around our operations. So really, when it comes down to it, it's about working smarter, which all goes back to data and analytics. The leadership team at Texas Mutual 3 years ago, when they created this position, decided that this was core to the strategy moving forward. And so we've really been focused on building that and trying to deliver that value back to the business using data and analytics.
Gotcha. And since they created the CDO organization new, is this reporting directly to the CEO through the COO? Like, where is this kind of coming?
Yeah, it is reporting directly to the CEO, which is really one of my requirements for taking this job was report directly to the CEO. I found that it demonstrates an organization's commitment to data and analytics by having that role report to the CEO. I'm also part of the executive council, which is really the top 11 or so executives at Texas Mutual. So I do literally have a seat at the table where the decisions are being made. And that was very important to me. And it should be important for every CDO to ensure that they can influence a strategy.
Sure. Yeah, that tells the seriousness of this position. And I would assume the CIO is a peer to you sitting, reporting to the CEO too?
The CIO actually reports to the Chief Operations Officer, who's a peer of mine.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. All right. So now, Mike, we are here in the age of the coronavirus pandemic, and it has had significant impact on a lot of different businesses. Could you kind of characterize what impact it has had on the insurance business, and how is Texas Mutual's data strategy helping you to kind of adapt and thrive in this market?
Well, I don't think I could really talk to the whole insurance business because that's pretty broad, but I can talk to Texas Mutual's and the impact to what has happened to Texas Mutual. When the pandemic issues started becoming apparent earlier this year, it really resulted in a thirst for information within our management and executive team at Texas Mutual. One of the advantages of being a dominant player within a niche market and having people that stay around a long time is that they get to know the business very well, and they have an intuitive sense about what's going on with their customers, what's going on with the business, what's going on in the markets that they serve in Texas. And usually that's very reliable, that intuitive sense that they've built up through all the years with experience. Consequently, when we started rolling out dashboards and visualizations at Texas Mutual last year, people liked it. Management team liked those visualizations. They liked seeing the data that way, but it largely confirmed what they already believed was happening within the business. When the pandemic hit, all of a sudden, all the old assumptions got thrown out the window about what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, the dashboards that they were receiving became a lot more important, and they wanted more of it. And they wanted to drill down farther to see what is the impact on our underwriting within different market segments, with different types of businesses that we serve, within different geographies, getting down to a micro level around that. What's the impact to our workforce? We were able to very quickly spin up many dashboards that were requested by the senior leadership team. And within a couple of weeks, literally within a couple of weeks, able to produce that information on their version at their homes. The adoption of the data visualization tools has actually helped us from a CDO standpoint.
And that's great to know. So we were also kind of doing the same exercise at our company, and I'm assuming every single organization went through that. Now, you talked about the three different initiatives or the pillars. Let's start with the data platform. And so the data platform, I kind of see it as the fundamental foundation kind of stuff. So tell us what constitutes your data platform, and how is that kind of you're seeing the evolution of that within Texas Mutual?
When I first arrived at Texas Mutual, the data platform was a on-premises data warehouse that was well past its prime and very complex, with lots of very complex ETL code that was generating that data warehouse that nobody really understood within the organization. Was never really was probably not well architected at the time it was built, but certainly by modern standards was not what the organization needed to move forward. And especially because it was prone to breakage and it was pretty fragile. We made a commitment, and actually the data platform was the last thing of those three pillars I actually got to, but about July of 2019, I started getting to that. Initially, I had left that data platform with IT to manage, but in July of 2019, I decided I really need to move forward with our cloud strategy. So we very quickly came up with a roadmap on how we're going to migrate our data and analytics capability to the cloud, and really began that migration this year. And really in July of 2020, we really started this migration, and in November we were able to start moving the first pilot users into the new cloud data warehouse environment.
Okay, all right, that's great to hear. So because cloud is definitely becoming the norm right now. So within the data platform, I would assume the data integration is a component within the data platform. So could you kind of help us understand what the data integration landscape looks like within the data platform?
Sure. Well, again, what I inherited was much different, and it was not the kind of data integration that you would want to do today. Today, what we're doing in the new cloud-based platform is, first thing we did was implemented the change data capture, because that was really not available to the organization anywhere in the organization before, so that we're able to capture data at whatever schedule that we need to and capture it incrementally to ingest that into our platform. The other thing from an integration standpoint that we're doing that was new is we started using data warehouse automation tools. These data warehouse automation tools that we started using have really increased the productivity of our developers by 5 times or more. Not only that, it somewhat future-proofs us, because we can very easily use the same data warehouse automation tools to re-platform if we want to move elsewhere in the future. And we don't have to hand code all of that today. So we're trying to automate as much as possible, which in the old environment around integration would have been a lot of very slow hand coding. The other thing that we're doing within the, as we're building this out, is we are building quality right into the process. So for every piece of code that's being developed out there, for every change within the data warehouse, we're developing automated test scripts to go test those changes, because we know with data pipelines, we're going to be building many data pipelines over time. We'll build hundreds, thousands of data pipelines that are all very unique. And one of the things I was concerned about as we build those things out is that then you have to maintain those. And if you do not automate your testing, and you're gonna have to change these things all the time, things are gonna break. And if don't have automated testing, your team will be quickly overwhelmed just trying to keep up with the changes. So that was really kind of core to, as we're rebuilding this whole thing, automating and then building the quality right in, including the automated test scripts to do regression testing.
Gotcha. All right, so you're kind of embarking on the modernization aspect of both your analytics as well as the cloud at the same particular time. Now, help us understand in terms of that impact to the business users. So whenever you're trying to move away from on-premises to the cloud, like the way you have actually done your data warehouse, which has been one of the pillars, I would say, very essential component within your analytics architecture, the business users get impacted. So how have you kind of put some mitigation efforts in place so that the business continues, they're able to continue the work that they were actually doing when you are doing this transition?
Yeah, well, this transition is happening over a long period of time. I mean, we are just introducing our first pilot users into this environment, and the pilot users that we're introducing are various analysts that are pretty data savvy already. and our actuary team, which is also very data savvy. The reason we're having them as our first pilot users is so that they can begin to give us feedback on this new data warehouse environment, and we can make changes. We've adopted agile approaches around how we do that so that we can get a constant and continuous feedback loop with those key stakeholders. So we understand that what we are building is going to support their needs. Over time, we'll start to expand that to other users and maybe other users who are not as data literate as the first ones we have in. But we realize that this is going to have to be something that we build over time, get feedback on, iterate through, and continue to improve over time.
Got you. So in your transition, is it everything completely switched over to the cloud data warehousing, or part of
we have not retired the legacy data warehouse. Again, this is a multi-year effort to fully retire that because the complexity and all of the reporting and all the business processes that were built on top of that legacy data warehouse. We got to be very, very careful that as we start to replace that we don't cause unnecessary disruption elsewhere. So we're doing it in a very phased, piecemeal approach. This is not a big bang. This is an iterative approach, and we will take the time that we need to do it right.
Gotcha. All right, that's a very sensible approach. So now let's go back to you talked about the dashboards that you provided to the executives in terms of understanding the business, especially during the COVID times. So if you're having a hybrid data strategy at this particular point, part of it being on premises, part of it being in the cloud. So how are you kind of structuring such that when they are actually viewing these reports that transcend these two environments, how is that kind of working for you?
Well, when they're looking at the dashboards, the users don't know where that data is coming from. We've actually kind of created some parallel processes around and simplified some of the logic that is currently within our ETL code. And we simplified that logic to create within our cloud data warehouse similar types of tables and structures. One of the things that we do as we're building this all out is that we are using the legacy environment as a place to test that what we're building matches what that legacy is, because these are some of the quality checks that we have in there, because we don't want the data to be changing from what they are used to. But how it gets there and how it feeds those dashboards and reports, they really don't know, and they really never see.
Okay, all right, good. Now let's come to the data governance aspect you talked about. That's the third pillar that you talked about. So data governance, again, there have been a lot of broad definitions. Some try to do it departmental, some try to do it at an enterprise level. So where is the data governance efforts within Texas Mutual, and where is it evolving to?
Data governance was a concept that was discussed at Texas Mutual before I got there, but was never really embraced within Texas Mutual. One of the early hires that I had was hire just a VP responsible for our data governance program. One of the first things that he did was create a data governance council, which included key stakeholders across the organization that were knowledgeable about the data within Texas Mutual. Some of those stakeholders really became the lead data stewards for their domains. So we created new roles and responsibilities at the business level around data stewardship. And we supported that with a small central group to really kind of administer and drive that data governance program across the organization. But data governance is really owned by our business partners through the stewardship and through the data governance council we created out there. Another area of focus for us is around data management, metadata management. We really think that's core to successful data governance, is that metadata management layer. And one of the capabilities that we implemented was a data catalog across the organization. And again, we opted for automation here where we can, and we selected an automated machine learning enabled type of catalog to help build all those connections, build out lineage automatically across all of our data sources and data integration. So we understand where all that data comes from. We're building out data quality and data quality measures and metrics within there. We are using the data catalog, most importantly, to capture the tribal knowledge that we had in the organization around the data. Because before, when somebody had a question about a data definition, like what does earned premium mean, you'd have 5 different definitions, of course. And you would have to go find somebody who might know what it really means and be able to explain it to you. Now we capture all of that within the catalog, and through the Governance Council, we're able to reduce the number of competing definitions out there and have unique definitions for every business term out there. So that really is, that metadata management layer is really, I think, very central to the governance, getting that right, because that drives everything else.
Okay, that actually tells your data governance initiative is pretty mature. It looks like you have used some tools to kind of automate a lot of the rules and processes. And
again, this is not something that we are done with by any stretch, but we are building, and every month that goes by, we capture more and more information within the data catalog and get a better handle on our data across the organization.
So what are your goals when it comes to these 3 pillars, the analytics, the data platform, the data governance, and also if you can bring in like data virtualization into it, what do you kind of see that will be helpful?
So, our plans for 21 are really to kind of continue to build on the programs that we already have in motion. We made a lot of progress in 2020 despite the pandemic. We implemented Agile across all the teams that report into me. We have now 4 Agile teams working on these various areas that we've talked about today. And that's working very well. We're implementing product management concepts to bring that to the next level within the CDO group. And now it's about execution, continuing to build out those data assets, continue to migrate to the cloud, continuing to build out our data governance. And all of that is going to take time. As a matter of fact, we don't expect to fully retire our legacy data warehouse until maybe the end of 2023. We have some ideas on how we could pull that up. But ultimately, once we get there, the plan is really to refocus those resources around high benefit use cases within the organization that we've identified, particularly around AI and machine learning. We were able to introduce some of that last year very successfully within the business. Even though we haven't replatformed everything, we were able to introduce some very powerful machine learning models that had a significant impact to the business. We'd like to do a whole lot more of that, but our leadership team is patient around that, and they have set as a highest priority to finally retire this legacy data warehouse because it represents technical debt within the organization. And this is technical debt that we also have within other areas of the company. And we've made a real commitment to prioritize retirement of that technical debt. We're in a pretty good, strong, competitive position right now. There's never been a better time for us to do it. We're going to bite the bullet. We're going to get that done. But boy, do we have plans moving forward on how we can start to really unleash the power of our data and the power of analytics to improve every aspect of our business.
All right, that's great to hear. So we are kind of winding down to the end of this interview. It has been great. And so in terms of the recommendations for our viewers, what would you say in terms of what they need to think as they evolve their data strategy into the 2021 and beyond?
Well, I think, we kind of alluded to before the importance of having the right level of commitment in the organization. Really making changes around your data and analytics strategy is, if you want to do some significant change, requires a lot of consensus around the organization. It's a pretty big investment to do. It's hard to just nibble around the edges and have major impact and add major value, you probably do it, but it's very, very slow. So, the first bit of advice is understand what your organization is willing to commit to. And if they're not willing to commit to it, then you need to scale back your expectations accordingly on what can be accomplished. That's the first thing. Second thing is around building the team, building a strong team to help actually do this. And again, this goes to commitment, because building a team requires bringing in strong talent that might not exist in the organization. And the team that I have at Texas Mutual, I don't want anybody stealing any of my team, because they're fantastic. They make my job as CDO easy, because they do such a great job every day. They're so motivated, they're so excited, and they're very, very good at executing on this vision that we have. So those are the two things. It comes down to the people, the people in the organization who have to commit and buy into this as your business partners and your IT partners, and the people within your own group that actually have to go build it. Those are keys to success.
Very well said. People are the most important asset, and the recommendations that you gave are very sensible. Thank you very much, Mike, for joining me today. This has been a great interview. Please visit the cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.